What if I told you that one of the most beloved animals on Earth isn't quite what it seems? That behind those adorable black and white faces lies a mystery that scientists have quietly puzzled over for decades. Tonight, we pull back the curtain on the panda bear, because the more you investigate these creatures, the stranger their story becomes. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll never look at a panda the same way again. Consider the basic facts. The giant panda is technically a carnivore, with a digestive system built for eating meat. Yet it survives almost entirely on bamboo, a plant so nutritionally poor that the panda can barely extract energy from it. This makes no evolutionary sense. Why would a predator abandon meat for a diet that forces it to eat for 14 hours a day just to stay alive? Something doesn't add up here. Then there's the thumb. Pandas possess a sixth digit, a so-called pseudo-thumb, that lets them grip bamboo with eerie precision. But here's the unsettling part. It isn't a real thumb at all. It's an enlarged wrist bone, repurposed in a way evolution rarely permits. Biologists call it one of nature's most peculiar adaptations. But what if it wasn't nature that designed it? What if something or someone gave the panda exactly what it needed? Now, consider reproduction. Female pandas are fertile for only 2 or 3 days each year. Just 3 days. In the wild, mothers often abandon one cub when twins are born. Zoos around the world spend millions struggling to make pandas breed at all. From a purely biological standpoint, this species seems almost designed to fail. So how has it survived for millions of years? How does an animal this fragile continue to exist? The giant panda was only introduced to the Western world in 1869 by a French missionary named Armand David. Before that, written records about pandas are strangely sparse, almost suspiciously so. For an animal supposedly roaming China for ages, the historical trail is thin. Some ancient texts mention black and white bears, but the descriptions are vague, inconsistent, sometimes contradictory. Why does such an iconic creature leave so few footprints in human history? Where exactly was the panda hiding? Here's where it gets interesting. Pandas are never sold, they're only loaned. China leases its pandas to foreign zoos for roughly $1 million per year per animal. Any cubs born abroad belong to China and must eventually be returned. This isn't conservation. This is a tightly controlled monopoly. One nation owns every single panda on Earth. Ask yourself, why would a country guard one species so jealously unless that species held value far beyond its cuteness? They call it panda diplomacy, and it's very real. For decades, pandas have been gifted or loaned to nations at precise diplomatic moments. A panda arrives, and suddenly relations warm. Trade deals follow. It's a pattern repeated across continents and generations. Critics dismiss it as soft power, harmless symbolism. But look closer at the timing of these loans, and you'll notice they coincide with negotiations of enormous strategic importance. The panda isn't just an animal, it's a tool. But for what? Let's talk about those markings. The high contrast black and white pattern is unlike almost anything else in the mammal kingdom. Scientists offer theories: camouflage, communication, temperature regulation, but none fully explain it. What we do know is the effect those markings have on us. Studies show humans are neurologically hardwired to adore panda faces. The large, dark eye patches mimic the wide eyes of human infants. We are quite literally programmed to love them. Every panda on the planet is monitored. They're microchipped, DNA sampled, tracked, and cataloged in a central registry. Their movements between zoos are documented with the precision of state secrets. No other animal on Earth is watched so closely. Conservationists say it's to protect an endangered species, and maybe that's all it is. But this level of control, this obsession with location and lineage, feels less like preservation and more like the management of something far too valuable to lose. Now, follow the bamboo. Pandas require vast, specific forests of it to survive, and these forests sit in remote mountainous regions of central China, regions that are difficult to access and easy to restrict. By tying the panda's survival to these isolated zones, you create a perfect excuse to control huge swaths of protected, off-limits territory. Conservation reserves the size of small countries, sealed off from outsiders. What better cover story exists than saving a beloved, fragile bear? Pandas sleep for up to 12 hours a day and barely move otherwise. Their metabolism runs astonishingly slow, slower than nearly any mammal their size. Energy conservation, scientists say. But consider another interpretation. An animal that does almost nothing, requires constant care, and breeds with great difficulty would be the perfect creature to keep dependent, entirely reliant on human handlers, entirely under control. A wild animal that cannot truly survive without us. Doesn't that strike you as oddly convenient? Panda fossils do exist, and they tell a curious tale. Ancient relatives were smaller, more carnivorous, scattered across a wider range. Then, somewhere along the line, the lineage narrowed dramatically into the specialized creature we see today. Evolution can do this, certainly, but the speed and specificity of the panda's transformation has long troubled researchers. It's as if the species took a sharp, deliberate turn, as if it was steered toward a single, fragile, manageable form. Now we arrive at the theory whispered in certain corners. Some believe the modern panda is not purely a product of nature, but of intervention, a species shaped, refined, perhaps even engineered to be docile, dependent, and irresistibly charming, a living symbol that could be deployed wherever influence was needed. It sounds absurd. It should sound absurd, and yet every strange fact we've examined seems to point in this very direction. Coincidence, or a pattern hiding in plain sight? Try to find unscripted footage of pandas in the truly remote wild. Genuinely wild, unmonitored, untouched by handlers. It's surprisingly difficult. Nearly all the panda content we consume comes from reserves, breeding centers, and zoos. Controlled environments with controlled cameras. The mythical free-roaming panda living its natural life is something we rarely actually witness. We're shown a carefully curated image, a performance. And whenever you're only shown the performance, you should ask what's happening offstage. There are stories, hard to verify, of researchers who questioned the official panda narrative. Scientists who wondered aloud about the breeding numbers, the genetics, the suspicious uniformity of the population. The stories say their funding dried up, their access was revoked, their concerns quietly buried beneath an avalanche of cute marketing. Now, maybe these are just rumors, the kind that follow any closely guarded subject. Or maybe they're exactly what they appear to be, a warning to stop asking questions. So let's connect the threads. An animal that defies evolution. A reproductive system that shouldn't sustain a species. Total monopoly control by a single government. Strategic deployment during pivotal diplomatic moments. A face engineered to disarm us emotionally. And remote, sealed territories justified entirely by their existence. Take any one of these alone, and it's a curiosity. But stack them together, and a far more troubling picture begins to form. A picture that's hard to ignore once you've seen it. Now, in fairness, there are explanations for all of this. Evolution produces strange specialists. Panda diplomacy is openly acknowledged soft power. The monopoly is framed as protecting an endangered icon. And nature has produced creatures far stranger than the panda. The rational mind says coincidence, not conspiracy. And perhaps that's correct. Perhaps every odd detail has a mundane answer. But conspiracies, real ones, always have reasonable cover stories. That's precisely what makes them so effective. You might ask why any of this matters. It's just a bear, after all. but the panda represents something larger. How easily we accept a story when it's wrapped in something adorable. How a symbol can be manufactured, controlled, and deployed while we coo over its appearance. Whether or not the panda is engineered, the lesson stands. We are remarkably easy to distract, to disarm, and to lead. And the things we love most are often the things we question least. The truth is, much about the panda genuinely remains unexplained. Real scientists really do struggle with its biology. The control over the species really is extraordinary. The diplomatic patterns really do exist. We are not inventing the strangeness. We're simply noticing it and asking the questions others avoid. The official answers may all be true, but the gaps remain. And in those gaps, in that uncertainty, lives every possibility we've explored tonight. The unknown is where conspiracies breathe. So the next time you see a panda, lazily chewing bamboo, charming millions with a single yawn, pause for just a moment. Look past the cuteness. Ask who controls this creature, who profits from it, and who decided you should adore it. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's everything. The truth, as always, is hidden in plain sight, behind a face we were designed to trust. Question everything. And until next time, keep watching.